All right, so I'm about to share something that's going to piss off a lot of YouTube gurus because what I discovered after building my channel to over 1 million subscribers and generating multiple six figures monthly isn't what they want you to know. The biggest barrier between your YouTube channel and landing clients isn't your camera quality, your editing, or even your personality. It's your video idea research. And look, the other day I closed 120K yearly content just from YouTube content and from this small channel as well. Not cold outreach, not paid ads, just strategic content. And I've discovered something that business owners completely miss. 99% of service providers or coaches are approaching YouTube backwards. But Shane, I don't have time to create content consistently. Well, that's exactly why my system works. I run multiple businesses and I can only dedicate 4 hours a week to my first YouTube channel. So this isn't about grinding out content. It's about being smarter than everyone else. But Shane, I've tried YouTube before and it didn't work. Of course it didn't. You were probably making random content instead of researching proven ideas. You were targeting general viewers instead of qualified prospects. And you were obsessing over views instead of client acquisition. Take Davis Nguyen, my client. His consulting channel struggled for a year until he implemented my framework. The results? 4 times more leads and scaling to 6 figures in monthly revenue. All while completely automating his YouTube channel. He even took himself out of it. And the breakthrough wasn't better equipment, even though 90% of the YouTube gurus out there hyper-focused on buying the newest camera or having the best audio. What it was identifying video topics that specifically attract high-paying clients. And in this video, I'm going to show you the exact research strategy that turns viewers into high-ticket clients, even for smaller channels. No theory, no fluff, just the system that made me millions. So let's dive in. Now, before we dive in, I have a free guide that actually complements this video, right? So while you're going through this video, you should also have that free guide open. And you're going to want to check that out by clicking the link in the description and the pinned comment below, because that's going to have lots of examples, case studies, templates, etc. All right, guys, so this is going to be a free course. I'm going to teach you how to never run out of video ideas again on YouTube. And this, of course, can be applied to YouTube, but it can be applied to other platforms as well, because the same strategies work on just about every platform. So these are going to be smart strategies for endless content inspiration. We're going to be talking about proven methods to generate viral video topics that your audience craves. So let's jump into it. Now, the first strategy, and this is my absolute favorite strategy, I'm just going to say this right off the bat, it's called the icon method. And basically what this is going to allow you to do is find winning ideas. And the way you're going to do this is you're basically going to find videos that are objectively either mediocre or bad that come from a smaller channel that for some reason still did well, right? So identify videos that are mediocre or bad with strong views despite the flaws. And we're going to get into exactly how to do that here in a moment. But the next step is you're going to validate the demand. So you're going to confirm the audience interest before spending all the time and effort it takes for you to actually create the video. And then the third step is you're going to create improved content. So you're going to have better execution on proven concepts, because the way you find winning video ideas is with the icon method. And by finding videos that are from smaller channels that are not good, right? They're either mediocre or bad, but they still did really well. They got a lot of views. You pretty much know that it's the idea of the video that is making people watch. And the idea is the single most important thing when it comes to getting people to watch your videos. You can actually have pretty mediocre content in almost every single way, but if you have a winning idea, your video takes off. And I'm sure you've seen this hundreds of times on YouTube, where you see somebody's video and it's super mediocre, and yet it has hundreds of thousands or even millions of views. The reason for that is because this person found an idea where there was a supply and demand imbalance. There was a massive amount of demand for the idea and there wasn't very much supply. So let's talk about how the icon method works. First of all, where did I get icon from, and why is it ICAHN and not ICON? Well, I got it from this guy named Carl Icahn, and he's a legend in the finance industry. And he pioneered a method for investing in companies that nobody else was doing. And basically what he did is he found companies that were doing quite well despite the fact that they were being ran like right? So these would be companies that in some cases they would have thousands of employees, and they would have buildings where there were entire floors of people that were getting absolutely nothing done all day long, right? He would actually go to these floors of people and he would just ask people like, what do you do? And they would say things like, oh, well, I send emails and I draft PowerPoints and blah, 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 blah. And he was like, okay, but what does that actually accomplish? And they would come up with some corporate lingo bullshit for what it accomplishes. And basically he came down to the point where he was just like, this entire floor of people does absolutely doing nothing all day long. And it's not their fault. It's because they're not being managed well, right? The leadership sucked. So he would identify these companies where they were just being managed terribly. The leadership sucked, yet they were still doing very well. They're still making a lot of money. Then he would buy those companies, fix them, make it to where the people were actually doing productive things with their time, and then grow them, sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5x, and then flip them for a massive multiple. And when it comes to business, I really like to study people in the finance industry and in the software industry. Those are the two industries that make the most billionaires. And so those people really know what they're doing. And so I took this method that I got from Carl Icahn from the finance industry, and I applied it to YouTube. Now, why do you do this? First of all, the biggest thing is you have what's known as proof of concept. And proof of concept is validation that audience demand exists right now, not 5 years ago, not 5 years in the future, not audience demand on a different platform, but audience demand exists on YouTube right now. AKA, there is a supply and demand imbalance. There's much more demand for the video idea than there is supply. And another reason I do this is because of reduced risk. I want to avoid wasting time on unproven ideas. I do not want to be the first person to try something. I want to be the second person after somebody else tried it and validated that there was demand. Because 99% of the time, if you try something new that hasn't been validated, it's not going to work. Even if it's a good idea, there's many cases where it's a great idea, but the idea's time just hasn't come. Or it was a great idea in the past, but it no longer works anymore, right? So even with great ideas, there's usually a window for when the supply and demand imbalance is going to be in your favor. And then the third reason I do this is because you're going to have a quality edge. The videos you're going to find were objectively either mediocre or bad. So if you can take that same idea and make a good video, it's going to give you a massive edge. All right, so step number 1 is search keywords in your niche. Now, I'm gonna have a few tools that I'm gonna recommend, and some of these tools are free, some of them are paid. However, I'm gonna show you how to do it the free way first. So first thing you wanna do is list your primary niche keywords. So you wanna start with the main topic in your content area. So I'm just gonna pretend that my niche is the trade careers niche, okay? So the reason I'm pretending this is because my brother's actually getting into this niche right now. So I'm just going to pretend that my niche is trade careers, right? Trade careers were already in extremely high demand. And now with all the tariff stuff and all the other stuff that's going on the border, they're going to be in even higher demand. So they're going to be a massive opportunity for a lot of young people out there who want to get a good job and make money without having to go, $100,000 in student loan debt. So we'd list down some main keywords like trade jobs, trade careers, trades, the trades, etc. Then you would expand with related terms. So for instance, you might look that up using vidIQ, for example, and then you go to the related keywords tab. Then we type in trade jobs, and you can see that, for instance, trade school pops up, and so does skilled labor. So you add those related terms to your list. Now, vidIQ is a paid tool. It's honestly my absolutely number 1 favorite YouTube tool. It's phenomenal. With that being said, you don't have to use that. You can kind of just use common sense, type in trade jobs on YouTube, and then see what other keywords pop up. And then you'd go ahead and do that. You'd type in trade jobs on YouTube, and then you'd see what pops up. And you can see that this video is one of the first ones that pops up. Now, step 2, you would look for a high view count. Now, for a mass market niche, aka a niche that a lot of people are interested in, you'd want to look for a minimum of 100,000 views. If it is a very niche topic, for instance, how to get funding for your startup as a CEO, right? A topic that only a very small handful of people would be interested in, then you could go as low as 30,000 views. But in an ideal world, you'd want to target videos that have over 1 million views because these have the highest potential. So this video does fit that bill. It has over 1 million views. And using vidIQ, you don't even have to click on the channel. It tells you that this guy has 40,000 subscribers. So that is a relatively small channel, and chances are he got most of his subscribers from this video. Now, the free version of the vidIQ extension will tell you how many subscribers they have without having to click on the channel, but in order to use the related keywords feature, you will have to upgrade to the paid version. So you want to target small creators, which is people with less than 100,000 subscribers, or if it's very niche, less than 30,000 subscribers. So this video does fit the bill again. He has 40,000. Then you'd want to calculate the views to sub ratio, and you're looking for ratios of 5:1 or higher. Now, if you calculated that for this one, it's around 35:1. So it clearly fits the bill for being 5:1 ratio or higher. And then the next thing you want to do is determine that it's not fake views. So there are people who sometimes will send fake views to videos, or they pay for ads on videos as well. So they basically pay to promote the video. Now, a very easy way to determine this is to simply just look at the likes or the comments on the video. If a video has millions of views, but only 5 comments, then it is probably either fake views or paid ads. And then if a video has 1,000,000 views, but there's only 1,000 likes, then again, it's probably fake views or paid ads. A video with 1,000,000 views should likely have somewhere between 10 and 50,000 likes. So a 1 to 5% like ratio. Now let's look at how you can spot the perfect ratio. So we'll start over on this side. So we'll look at this one, for instance. On this one, we've got 25,000 views and 50,000 subscribers. So that would be about a 0.5 to 1 ratio. That is not good. So that would be a poor candidate. On this one, we got 50,000 views and 50,000 subscribers. That would be a 1 to 1 ratio. Again, not good. That would be a poor candidate. This one, we've got 250,000 views and 50,000 subscribers. That would be a 5 to 1 ratio. So that's a pretty good candidate. And then this one, we've got 50,000 subscribers and 500,000 views. That would be a 10 to 1 ratio. That is likely a good candidate, assuming that the content is mediocre or bad. And that's the next step, which is evaluate the content quality. Once you've seen that it fits all of the criteria, then you're actually going to start looking at the thumbnail, looking at the title, and you'd even click on the video and watch the intro. Okay, so thumbnail quality, you want to look for basic or poorly designed thumbnails. Here's some examples of badly designed thumbnails. I'll put them up on the screen. Then title evaluation, you want to check if the title is basic or unoptimized. Some common problems with titles is if they're way too long, for instance. Then video production, assess the audio, lighting, focus, and editing quality. Right, so if it has bad audio, that's actually awesome for you. That would mean this is a perfect video to pick. Also lighting, if a person's face is really dark, that's usually bad. Focus, you want to make sure that it's actually focused on the person's face. And editing quality. So you want to make sure the editing quality is good. Now, that's pretty subjective, but just know that the best editing is usually when you don't notice the editing. Next, you want to actually watch the intro and note if the video is poorly organized, if the intro sucks, or if the person is just rambling off the top of their head. So let me give you an example of a really good Muse video that I personally use. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I noticed this video. It was called The Most Worthless College Majors. So just to be clear, the Muse video is the icon method video. It's an objectively mediocre or bad video from a small channel that did really well. And I noticed this, it was The Most Worthless College Majors. And you can notice here, the guy had 10K subs. He got 760,000 views. He did have 18.6K likes and comments, so it is a real video. So the view to subscriber ratio is about 76 to 1, so really good ratio there. So next we would move on to the actual quality. So when it comes to the title's okay. You could even say the title might be good. The thumbnail, on the other hand, is quite bad. So first of all, this thumbnail is just a still shot of the video itself. And you can tell that the video isn't really recorded with a high quality camera. In fact, it looks like this is recorded with a 90s VHS tape recorder camera, basically a potato. And another thing to notice is that his door is in better focus than his face, which is a little bit of a problem that's quite annoying for the viewer. And unfortunately, he either deleted or privated this video, so I can't show it. But although the lighting is decent, his face is well lit, the audio is quite bad when you click on the video, and the intro was bad, and he just started rambling. He was literally drinking alcohol during the video, just basically drunkenly rambling about worthless college majors. So that is a sign that this video is objectively bad. This is an objectively bad video from a small channel that did extremely well. And because you know all of these things, you know that the one thing that made this video stand out is the idea. There was a massive amount of demand for this idea and there wasn't very much supply. So even though he made an objectively bad video from a small channel, aka didn't have an audience that knows, likes, and trusts him, even though all of those things were true, this video still did well. And so this is mediocre at best production quality. And honestly, this is just objectively bad, which is great for the Muse video. That is exactly what you want to see. So next you would want to verify authentic views. And we already did that. 760,000 views with 18.6K likes and comments. That's legit. Then you'd review comments, make sure they don't look fake. And then you can also examine the view graph. Now this is another feature of vidIQ, but basically if you see the video, if you see basically, the video started and then you see a massive spike, it's almost like straight up, and then it levels off again, chances are that's because the person either bought fake views or they paid for ads. So you just have to take my word for it. In this case, the view graph was normal. Now you don't have to do that. Usually just checking the likes and the comments is completely fine, but that is an extra step you can take. And it's another feature of vidIQ, which makes it so nice. Now at this point, you have confirmed that you have a good Muse video using the icon method. So at this point, there's one thing and one thing only that you are going to steal, and that is the idea. It doesn't make sense to steal the thumbnail. thumbnail, it doesn't make sense to steal the title, and it definitely does not make sense to steal the content of the video. Only steal the idea. Then make a unique title, design an original thumbnail, and develop better content. So you can see this is the icon method video. This is the Muse video. And I took the most worthless college majors and I turned it into the most useless degree. So I actually used a different keyword that essentially means the same thing. Degree and college major, for the purposes of this video, essentially mean the same thing. And then I made a better thumbnail and an objectively better video. And by the way, it didn't take me that long. I only spent about 3 hours on this video and it ended up getting over 4 million views. Why? Because I knew that it was a winning idea. Here's another example of me using the icon method. Now, in this case, I would say this is a relatively mediocre video. So this isn't like a, terribly bad video, but you can see, the amount of subscribers he had was 422,000 with 6.4 million views. That's about a 12 to 15 to 1 view to subscriber ratio. So that checks out. At the time he made this video, it was less than 100,000 subscribers. So this is a picture, from past that time. I think when I first discovered it, it was about 2 to 3 million views with less than 100,000 subscribers. So that was about a 20 or 30 to 1 ratio. Unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of it at the time. So next you would quickly check the quality. And you can see here that the, top 11 companies always hiring work from home jobs worldwide. This is a pretty mediocre title. I mean, it's just not that good. He uses this weird little dash here. It's also quite long. It's a mediocre title. Then you look at the thumbnail, and this is where I really started to think like, okay, this is going to be a good video because he uses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different colors in the thumbnail. That is a terrible sign. When it comes to the colors in the thumbnail, you should be using 3 maximum, and that's the absolute max. A lot of the time you just use 1 color. Okay, but 3 maximum. Then you look at his picture here and you see that it's not very high quality. In fact, it looks like he just took a video and then cut himself out of the video and put that as his picture. It's not a very high quality picture. Additionally, the title is work from home jobs, but the background is kind of a tropical location. So the thumbnail doesn't really work with the title. It's not congruent. And then if you were to click on this video and you look at the intro to it, you'll see that his head is actually blurry. So the top of his head is actually blurry in this video. And so that shows that the video itself is also relatively mediocre. He also wasn't doing that many edits. And so I would say that this is a mediocre video. It's not a terrible video by any means, but it is mediocre. And yet it did phenomenally well with over 6 million views. And then the last thing you want to look at is whether or not they're actual real views. And you can see again with vidIQ, this is why I like vidIQ so much. It shows you that the engagement rate is 5%. That is a very normal engagement rate. And anything 1% or lower, you're going to want to actually click on the video and look at the likes and look at the comments manually. However, if it's over 1%, if it's, let's say, 2 to 5% for the engagement rate, then you're going to be fine. So what did I do? I made a better version of this video and it blew up to over 2 million views. So again, the only thing I stole was the idea. I had a completely different title. In fact, I used different keywords, work from home job companies, instead of companies always hiring work from home jobs. So I used a completely different keyword, work from home job companies always hiring. I thought that was a better way to state it, and the video did extremely well. Now, the last step is to store your Muse videos. Now, what I like to do is I like to take screenshots of the video, usually the thumbnail and the title, and then I will store it in something like Google Docs, or my favorite is actually just Asana. So I like to use the Asana Kanban boards, and I will store stuff just like this in those. I also like to save the video URL, and I'll put it in the same place for easy access later on. And then finally, I will either store the video title or I will make my own video title and put that in Asana as well. And then usually I'll find anywhere from 10 to 30 icon method or Muse video ideas. And then I will revisit and evaluate later on with a fresh perspective. And out of 30 Muse video ideas, I'll usually select around 10 of them to actually make videos on. Now, what I like to do is I have a project management system. I use Asana and I'll have content ideas, and sometimes I'll have various different forms of content ideas. And then I'll have soon ideas, which are content ideas that I'm going to be making very soon. And I'll have a production pipeline where I can see where the videos are and the various video creation stages. And then finally, on the very end, I have a column of videos that have been scheduled and launched. All right, so method 1, the icon method, is by far the best method, and 99% of people should just stick with that. With that being said, if you're a little more advanced, or you already have a channel that's doing well, or if your niche is in a topic that's not big on YouTube yet, you can use method number 2, which is cross-platform inspiration. Now, method number 2 is relatively similar to the icon method. You're just going to be using it on other platforms. So just as an example, a few platforms that I've seen work extremely well for this are Reddit, Twitter or X, Instagram, and TikTok. Reddit is one of my favorite ones because oftentimes there'll be trending subreddits that often predict YouTube trends. Just as a few examples, carnivore diet, dopamine detox, digital minimalism, all of those got very big on Reddit before they got big on YouTube. Another couple examples were monk mode, nofap, etc. The first people to bring those topics over to YouTube got massive amounts of views. So if you can find a big trend, something that's happening on Reddit, especially if there are people that are maybe writing, pretty mediocre Reddit posts and they're still getting upvoted a lot and they're getting a massive amount of engagement, that is a good sign that at some point that trend is going to move over to YouTube and you might be the first one to bring it there. Because if there's something that is trending big on any platform, eventually it's going to start to trend on another platform. It's just a matter of time. So Reddit is my favorite one, but there are other platforms where you can see this happening. Again, Twitter, X, Instagram, sometimes TikTok as well. You can see that sometimes things will trend on there before they get to YouTube. But trends will typically start on Reddit, then they go to Twitter, then they go to Instagram, and then they go to YouTube, generally speaking. And another way you can confirm that a trend is really big with free products, right? There are paid products where you can do this as well. But a free way of doing that is looking at Google Trends. So just as an example, carnivore diet has gotten very big on YouTube in the last year or so. And if you look on Google Trends, you'll see that it got really big on Google Trends around the same time. Now, another really useful tool, and again, I'm just sticking with free tools for now because I don't want you to have to buy like 20 different things. But another really useful tool is Anvaka. And this tool, you can actually just type in a subreddit. In this case, I typed in the monk mode subreddit. And you can see all of the other subreddits that are related to it. So people that are interested in monk mode are likely interested in all of these other things too. So they're interested in Theravada Buddhism, right? I have no idea what that even is, but people that are interested in monk mode are also interested in Theravada Buddhism and engaged Buddhism and only child and life after school and the 48 laws of power and Machiavellianism and no-fap Christians and anti-pornography and digital minimalism and biohackers and breathwork, etc., etc., etc. So I think you see the point here. This is an amazing tool to basically figure out what other topics that you can talk about on your channel that if people are interested in monk mode, they'd likely be interested in these other topics as well. And that can be a great starting point for your research. So this is an insanely effective method as well. Again, I recommend just to stick with the icon method. That's a little bit more advanced because sometimes you might have a good idea. It might even be trending on other platforms, but when you try to bring it to YouTube, for whatever reason, it just doesn't work yet. And in rare cases, the idea might have started on YouTube and then it's gone to other platforms, but now it's already saturated on YouTube. So that's why I recommend the icon method, especially to beginners, because it's honestly just dummy proof, right? Like if you follow the icon method and you do it consistently with videos, you are going to have a video that takes off because the supply and demand imbalance is going to be in your favor. And it's just a matter of time before one of your videos takes off. But the second method can be really good, especially for certain niches. And this is really a client to client and a niche to niche thing. And this is something that I help my clients figure out. And this second method is really good for understanding the demographics and psychographics of your audience as well. All right, method number 3, and this method only works if you have already uploaded a bunch of videos or even better, you already have a successful YouTube channel. And this is where you create 10 to 30 videos using the icon method or a different method. Then you analyze the performance of those videos, and then you double down and create more content in the successful areas. So the videos that were outliers, the videos that stood out, you double down and you create more content of those types of videos. And I'm going to go into detail on exactly how you can do that because that point is really key. And then you refine your approach, right? You continue improving your content formula. And a great analogy for this is the oil drilling analogy. And this is exactly how oil companies find oil. So what they do is they do these small surveys across a wide area, right? So there might be, let's just say hypothetically, 1,000 by 1,000 mile area that an oil company owns, or they have drilling rights on. And they will do these small surveys. They might do 100, 500, even 1,000 small surveys all across this 1,000 by 1,000 mile area. And what they're looking for is signs of oil. Oftentimes they will hire geologists who know a lot about rocks, and they know that there's certain types of rocks that have a higher percentage chance of being around oil. right? And so these geologists will survey the area. They don't have any fancy equipment, no drills or anything like that. And usually it's just 1 or 2 person teams. And they send literally hundreds or thousands of these tiny teams out. And then there might be a few areas where they find positive signs of oil. And so at that point, they will send slightly larger teams out and they have more advanced equipment, right? So let's just say they found 30 areas in this 1,000-mile area that had positive signs. They'll send 30 bigger teams, maybe teams of like 10 people, to those 30 areas. And they use advanced equipment and they find even more positive signs in 3 areas, right? So 3 out of the 30 had even more positive signs. So there was a even higher percentage chance that there's oil there. And then at that point, they would probably send out 3 actual drills and they would start drilling in those 3 areas. And these teams might be big, right? This might be like a 100-person team. And then they would find that 1 out of those 3 areas actually does have oil, right? They found an oil reserve. And then what would they do? They would literally send like 1,000 people to that area. They would even build an entire town in that area that has streets and a fire station and a police station and restaurants and houses, etc., just so they can support that one area when it comes to getting the oil out of the ground. So they basically focus all of their resources on that one area. And that's exactly what you want to do on YouTube as well. You want to test out a bunch of different video ideas, and then the ones that do better, you want to make more video ideas that are similar to those. And then you keep doing that, and then you double down on the ones that do the best until you figure out exactly what type of content people want to watch, right? The exact ideas that people want to watch, the exact format of video, right? Is it a listicle? Is it a how-to? Is it a case study, etc.? And you figure all of that out, and then you just make content on that one type of video. You put all of your resources into that one type and that one idea of video. So basically it goes like this. You have an exploratory phase where you test various ideas with modest resources. You don't put that much effort into the videos. Then you have a validation phase where you identify which ideas show the strongest response and you make more videos just on those ideas. And then once you've found a winner, you have an expansion phase where you allocate more resources to proven winners. So this is where you would actually start spending more time editing the videos, right? You might hire a dedicated video editor and you spend a significant amount of time editing those videos. But what most people do is the opposite. They spend a bunch of time editing videos when they have no idea if it's a video idea that people even care about. And then finally, once you find that winning idea and you found that winning format, you go to the scaling phase. And this is where you are literally making the same video with slight changes over and over again. And you'll notice that just about every big YouTuber is in this phase. Mr. Beast, all of his videos on his main channels are challenge videos. And specifically, they're challenge videos that have to do with money. Mr. Who's the Boss, almost all of his videos are listicle review videos, where they're lists of different products that he reviews. Penguin Zero, aka Moist Critical, almost all of his videos are reaction videos. And there's a reason for that. People come to expect a certain type of video from a creator. Just like when you go to a pizza place, you are expecting to eat pizza. And if you were to go to a pizza place and they didn't have any pizza and instead they were serving tacos, even though you probably love tacos, you would be disappointed by that. And you'll notice that almost all the videos on my main channel are listicle review videos. And there's a reason for that, because that's what worked in my niche and that's what my audience wants. So some of the most important things to think about when it comes to a winning video are, of course, the idea. We already talked about that, Bill, but also the video format, the subject matter, right? The specific topic that you're going to be talking about and that resonates with your audience. So in my case, it's remote jobs, the audience need, right? Problems that your audience needs to solve or desires that need to be fulfilled, the presentation style. So the tone, the pacing, the delivery approach, the way you edit the videos, the way you deliver the videos, etc. And then method 4 is to just create variations, right? So same video, different angles. So minor variations on a winning formula. An example of this, of course, is remote jobs, high paying, easy hire, flexible, night shift, all different variations of essentially the same video. And then you can just systemize your production. This is where YouTube goes on absolute easy mode, because you can create templates and systems to efficiently create videos and just to make the same types of videos over and over again. This is where you can get your video production down to as little as 1 hour per week. And that's if you're recording the videos yourself, and even less than that if your team is recording them for you. And an analogy for this is a starving crowd, right? What do you think would be more efficient? If you put a 5-star Michelin restaurant in the middle of a desert, or let's just say you opened a food truck that had like the best food in the world, but then you park the food truck right outside of a buffet and it's the exit to the buffet, versus selling pretty mediocre food, let's call it hot dogs, to a starving crowd of people. Which one do you think is going to work better? Selling the amazing food to the crowd of people who, just don't want food, or there's just no people there in the first place. They don't want food because they just walked out of a buffet, so they're full, or there's no people there because it's in the middle of the desert, or selling hot dogs to a starving crowd of people that are super hungry and they want to eat. Obviously, selling hot dogs to the starving crowd of people is going to be much more effective. And so if you find the right ideas, your content doesn't have to be world class. Your content can be relatively mediocre and it's still going to perform well. Just like the hot dogs are relatively mediocre, but people are still going to buy them because they're starving for it. There's a supply and demand imbalance. There is a massive amount of demand for food and there's not a lot of supply. And so even if your food is mediocre, people are still going to eat it. And even if your content is mediocre, people are still going to consume it. Now, I wish I learned this when I was younger. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Here's some lessons that I hope that you can take from me, because I had to learn most of these the hard way. The first one is audience first thinking. Give your audience what they want, not what you think they need. Okay. Your audience will tell you what they want. So just give it to them, right? Instead of trying to guess what Susie wants for lunch, just ask Susie, what do you want for lunch? It's that simple. Also, simplicity wins. Straightforward content often outperforms complex content. You don't need to make your content super complex. You don't need to have insanely fancy editing and a crazy storyline weaved in and lots of different shots in different locations. Oftentimes, straightforward content will outperform super fancy content. Also, consistency builds trust. When your audience consistently gets a certain value proposition, when you consistently solve a certain problem for them, they are going to trust you more and they are going to have a certain expectation when it comes to your content. And this is a good thing. You want your audience to know what they can expect from you, because this is going to keep them coming back again and again and again. And it's going to make the YouTube algorithm trust your content more and know that when it recommends your content to a wider audience of people, your content is going to deliver. And the next thing is quality, not novelty. Do not try to be the first person to create a piece of content or to try out a YouTube video idea. Be the second person. Model what works. Better execution of proven formulas beats innovation almost every single time. Now, this is very advanced, but you can get to a certain point on YouTube where you actually do become a market maker. And this is creating content that nobody knew that they needed. So just as an example of this, when Apple first started, people didn't know that they needed a computer in their home, right? They didn't know that. And later on, people did not know that they needed a computer in their pocket. They were market makers. But the truth is, 99.99% of the time, if you try to be a market maker, you're going to fail. Okay, that's just the facts. If you look at business statistics, most businesses that succeed modeled success based on another business, aka they had proof of concept, then they changed a few little things here and there and made it unique. And in order to be a market maker, you have to have a deep audience understanding, right? You need to anticipate needs before they're even expressed. And you basically need to be kind of a futurologist that just can tell the future. Like you can just read people's minds and just understand what's going to happen in the future, which again is very difficult to do. And additionally, in order to be a market maker, you typically need to have established channel authority, right? So an audience actually trusts your recommendations. So when you do come out with a new piece of content or a new way of doing content, your audience trusts you enough that they're going to give that type of content or that idea a chance. So again, don't recommend being a market maker for like 99.9% of people. However, if you are a big YouTuber and you're very skilled at YouTube, you can become a market maker. So when to consider becoming a market maker, if you have established channel, you have client insights, so you have some sort of unfair advantage when it comes to data. For instance, if you've interviewed a bunch of people and you know that there's a problem that they're all having, that's when you would maybe consider becoming a market maker. So you have basically insider data. You have market research that other people don't have access to. Also, industry expertise, deep knowledge enables anticipating trends, and a loyal audience, right? If you have a massive loyal audience, it makes it a lot easier for you to become a market maker. But again, reality check, guys, 99% of successful businesses and 99% of successful YouTube channels just model something that's already working either on YouTube right now or off of YouTube, and then they bring it onto YouTube. and only 1% of successful channels are market makers. But like I said before, I highly recommend just use the icon method, especially if you're a newbie. This method is dummy proof. It's the method that has gotten the most people success, and it is by far the most effective one. And again, view to sub ratio, 5:1 ratio minimum, higher is better. View threshold, 100K plus views standard or 30K plus for small niches. And then production quality, better if the Muse video has poor quality because it validates the idea's strength. And some additional icon method guidelines: change the title, never copy the exact title from the Muse video, match your taxonomy, choose videos with similar content style. So for instance, if you make listicle style videos, it's best to find icon method videos that are also listicles. Then look for outliers, right? Videos performing far better than the channel average. One really good website to do this is oneof10.com. It is a paid website though. And then consider revenue potential. Some topics earn more despite lower views. So if you know that a certain topic earns a lot of money, even though it might have a lower amount of views, maybe let's just say 10, 20, 30,000 views, you might still consider doing that video because you know that that topic makes a ton of money. And taxonomy matters, right? Listicles, how-to guides, reviews, case studies. This is something that I cover in other videos on the channel. So now you know the established rules. Let's talk about when to bend or break the rules. When you're in a beginner phase, just follow the icon method like to a T. Just do not try to variate or deviate from the icon method. Just model what works. When you're in the intermediate phase, you can make minor adjustments as you learn audiences' preferences. When you're in an advanced phase, you can make strategic exceptions based on channel data or audience insights. And when you're in an expert phase, you have an intuitive understanding of what will work, and you can even consider becoming a market maker. Now, some special considerations is especially attractive creators, you probably don't want to copy their content even if it's mediocre, because the views may be personality or looks driven, not idea driven. So if you see an especially attractive girl, for instance, who gets a ton of views, probably not a good idea to copy their content idea. Additionally, you might not want to copy Dr. Mike, for instance, because he's a really good looking guy and he's got thousands or even tens or hundreds of thousands of girls that follow him because of his good looks. And you definitely wouldn't want to copy my channel either, for obvious reasons. Just kidding. Then regional content. So success may not transfer across geographic markets. So just as an example, if you see a video idea and it's from an Indian creator and it's very obvious that they're appealing to other Indians and your audience is from a first world English speaking country, it may not work for you, right? Because the ideas that are big in the Indian market may not be big in first world English speaking country markets. Also, seasonal topics. Some content only works during specific times. So during tax season, for instance, there might be certain types of tax related topics that are doing extremely well. And then trending news. Time sensitive topics have short shelf life. So there might be some trending news and it's really hot for a few days. And then if you were to make a video on the topic like a week or a month or a year later, it's not going to do nearly as well. Now, like I said before, vidIQ is my absolute favorite keyword research tool. Highly recommend using it. My favorite way to use vidIQ is to type in keywords and then look for related keywords. Now you can do this with keywords or you can even do it with entire channels. So just as an example, you could type in Shane Hummus and you'll see that the keywords that I rank for, or the keywords that are semantically related to me, are going to be remote jobs, work from home jobs, side hustles, make money online, etc. So you can use that to tell what keywords are semantically related to certain channels, or what channels are related to keywords, or what other keywords are related to the keyword that you're looking up, which is unbelievably useful for looking up different content ideas and video ideas. So it goes like this. You enter the seed word, you start with the main niche term, then you view related terms, you discover semantically connected keywords, then you search on YouTube, you use each keyword to find potential Muse videos, and you just scroll down until you find one that meets all of the criteria for the icon method, you store it, and you repeat the process. Now, another trick you can use, and this works in some niches but not others, is instead of sorting by related, you sort by view count. Now, in some niches, when you sort by view count, this is going to put the top viewed videos at the top of the search results. You'll end up getting a bunch of like music videos or something like that, right? So in those niches, this doesn't work. But in some niches, sorting by view count actually does work quite well. And a little bit later, I'm actually going to give an example of me doing the icon method for one of my clients. So one thing we talked about was looking for bad thumbnails, objectively bad thumbnails. Now, how the heck do you do that, right? Because that's kind of difficult. It's a pretty subjective thing. Well, here's what you want to look for in thumbnails. On the left is an example of a good thumbnail. You can see that my face is crystal clear. You can see my eyes. I'm making an expression and I'm clearly somewhat emotional about something. I'm saying something that I'm emotional about. And there's big, bold text that actually has a number in it, right? So $1 million niche. So some of the do's here are clear focal point, Simple, high contrast, it shows emotion, minimal text, 3 to 4 words maximum. Oftentimes it's a good idea to put a number, and in most cases, a number related to money, especially if you're in the make money online or wealth niche in general, in the thumbnail. And then props that tell a story can be really good too. So as an example, in my video, The Most Useless Degrees, I am holding my degree. Now, some don'ts is too many colors, small text, cluttered composition, repeating title text, and low resolution images. So this is an example of a don't. First of all, there's way too many words on this thumbnail. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words. It does have the number on there, so that's good, but the text doesn't really stand out. So for example, if you were to make this into a smaller image, you probably would not be able to read the text. And guess what? A lot of people are watching YouTube on their phone, so that's a bad thing. Then another thing is the picture quality isn't very good here. My face isn't as crystal clear as it is on the one on the left. Now let's talk about what makes a good title. So this one did very well recently. This is actually my most viewed video ever. It got nearly 5 million views in just 3 months. And it's 9 boring but high-paying remote jobs, always hiring in 2025. So this title is great because it appeals to a mass market audience, aka it can get promoted on browse, which is the home page, but it's also going to get a lot of views from search. So it's actually browse friendly and search friendly at the same time. And what makes this title so interesting is the fact that I have boring but high-paying remote jobs that are always hiring in 2025. So this worked really well because it's a downside plus a benefit. So downside but benefit, X but Y. And this is one that works really well in niches that are starting to get saturated. So there's a lot of people making content about remote jobs now. And so I took it to the next level and I started making content about remote jobs where there's a downside but a benefit. And that's a little bit of a pattern interrupt for people because they were used to hearing how amazing all remote jobs are. And when they hear the downside that, oh yeah, this job is going to be boring, it intrigues them about the content. So some things about titles that you want to do is 1, spark curiosity, create information gap that viewers want to fill. 2, highlight the benefits. What will the viewer actually gain from watching? 3, be specific. Numbers, years, and details increase credibility. And 4, include keywords. So front load the titles with terms that people actually search for. So here are some title formulas that work. How to achieve desired outcome in time frame. Number, adjective, topic that benefit. The adjective, truth about topic. Why common belief is wrong or right. I tried. Activity for time frame, here's what happened. And here are some examples of each one of those. Now I'm going to very quickly go over what I like to call the holy trifecta, which is the thumbnail, title, and intro, because I want you to be able to recognize what a good thumbnail and title and intro are. And one of the biggest things about the holy trifecta is that they all need to be congruent with each other. And we're going to go over examples of that here in a moment. But the holy trifecta is a compelling thumbnail. This is the first thing that people see, then a magnetic title. It promises a specific value, and then a strong intro. It hooks viewers in the first 15 to 30 seconds. And you need to be able to recognize what a good intro looks like so that when you're doing the icon method, you can see what a bad intro looks like, right? Because you don't know what a bad intro is unless you know what a good intro is. So when it comes to crafting a powerful intro, you want to have a pattern interrupt in the first 3 seconds. So you want to grab their attention immediately. Then in the first 3 to 7 seconds, you want to state the main benefit or promise, and also make sure that what they clicked on for the video is what they're actually going to get, which you can basically do when you state the main benefit or promise, which is usually also in your title and thumbnail. So that's where the congruence comes in. And then the first 7 to 15 seconds, you preview key content points. And then the first 15 to 30 seconds, you establish credibility and transition into the main content. Now, these don't always have to be in that exact order, but you do want to hit on all of these points. And by the way, the intros should be relatively short. You should not have a 3 to 5 minute intro. Your intro should be 30 seconds, maybe a minute max. Now, some intro techniques that work are curiosity gap, hint at valuable information that's coming later. So last month, I made $73,679. That was only about probably around maybe 1/5 of what I made that month. A startling statistic, begin with a surprising data point.
There have been more tech layoffs in just the last few months than the entirety of the 2020 pandemic. More than 100,000 people lost their job in January alone.
A direct question, ask something that viewers want answered. Would you rather have an exciting job that pays you peanuts or a boring job that pays you enough to actually live your life? And or a bold statement. Make a controversial or attention-grabbing claim.
Some big egos are about to be shattered. That's right. Today, we are going to be talking about the hardest college majors that you can get in college.
So yeah, I would highly recommend watching more of my content on the Holy Trifecta, thumbnails, titles, and intros, because they are very important, but these are the main things that you need to know. And another thing to do is to just watch, small channels that don't get a lot of traction and kind of just see what they do that makes their intros not so good. Now, next, you want to batch your research process. So you want to research for minimum 30 minutes at a time. This gives you time to get into the research flow state. And then you want to do 10 to 30 ideas per session, right? This is the batching process. You want to come up with a bunch of good ideas at a time. And this gives you multiple options. And then you want to select your best 3 to 5, even up to 10 videos at a time. And usually you'll do that later on. So a lot of the time I will be in the collection mode, and then I'll take a break, and then I'll go in the quality control mode where I actually choose my favorite ones later on. Now, at first, you might only have 3 to 5 good ideas at the end of it, but eventually you'll get really good at this, and you might have 10 ideas if your original batch had 30. Now, benefits of batching is mental efficiency, pattern recognition, creative momentum, and just creating a content pipeline. All right, so I highly recommend batching your research process because it's just going to make it way, way more efficient. If you find your videos one at a time, it'll probably take you maybe 10 minutes to 20 minutes to find one good video idea. Whereas if you just batch them, you might find 30 good video ideas in an hour or two period. So each idea only took you a few minutes. So a case study here is my consulting offer. This is Davis's company that I talked about at the beginning. And he basically focuses on management consulting career advice. And he has a high ticket coaching offer where he helps people become management consultants. And he had been uploading for a long time and his channel simply was not getting any traction. And the reason for that is because he had a successful blog and he was trying to make the blog content on YouTube and it just wasn't working for him, right? He thought he had, insider information. He thought, hey, I already know which blogs are doing the best, so I'll just remake my blog content and put it on YouTube. And that didn't work very well for him. So what do? We implemented the icon method. We identified underserved topics with demand, we created superior content from proven ideas, and we boosted his channel growth and lead generation. And when he first started with us, his revenue that was coming from YouTube was so low that it was listed in other, right? So he had a list of all of the different, methods of he was getting clients, blog, referrals, paid ads, etc. And YouTube was literally listed under other. And at the end of working with us, he was making 6 figures and he had completely automated his YouTube channel to the point where he wasn't even making the content himself anymore. Another case study is Nicole, and her channel focus was cybersecurity career guidance. But at first, she was all over the place making content on just random IT topics, tutorials here, step-by-step guides there, how-tos, listicles, new style content. She was all over the place. And she was making content on a bunch of different topics: IT, cybersecurity, coding, technology, college degrees, etc. And what we did is we focused her channel to just talking about cybersecurity and specifically appealing to women who want to get into cybersecurity. And we created a high ticket coaching program for her. Now, when she started working with us, she only had 85 subscribers and she was making a grand total of $0 and she was just about to give up on YouTube. With the icon method, we found topics with high view to subs ratios, we created better versions with professional quality, and we established authority in cybersecurity training. And she's now doing over $85,000 a month, and she's completely crushing it. Another case study is the financial controller, and his channel focus was all about helping accountants become a certain type of accountant called a financial controller who makes a ton of money, usually over $200,000 a year. And he was selling mid-ticket courses and coaching, and he was not getting very much traction. He wasn't doing very well on YouTube. And that was until he discovered high demand accounting topics. And then he created professional content for proven ideas that he knew would get views, but even more importantly, make money. And he built an audience of aspiring accounting professionals that were either already accountants that wanted to become financial controllers or who were in the process of becoming accountants and they wanted to build their career the right way. And he's now absolutely crushing it. Not all of my clients want to reveal their revenue, but you can rest assured that he does have a 7-figure business. Now, let me go over some common mistakes that I see my clients make when they try to implement the icon method. First of all, copying exact titles and exact thumbnails. When you do this, the algorithm will compare you to the original video. And because of the fact that the original video always has so much traction, right? It already has traction. It already has a large audience of people watching it. And it already has social proof because there's tons of people that watched it. There's tons of people that commented, et cetera, et cetera. Chances are when they compare your video, even though your video is better to that original video, it's not going to do well. so you don't want to copy the exact title. Another common mistake is that channels will use big channel video ideas. And the thing you have to realize here is that their success may be due to loyal audiences, not the idea. Just as an example, I remember Jenna Marbles like 4 or 5 years back. She created a video called My Dog Pooped, and it was the thumbnail was literally her dog pooping. And the video got millions of views, right? So if you thought, oh, I can just, start a channel and create videos about my dog pooping and get lots of views, well, you'd be wrong, right? The reason her audience watched that video is because they're familiar with her, they know, like, and trust her, and they're familiar with her dog as well. And that is why they watch her videos, because they feel like she's a friend to them. So that's a completely different ballgame, right? That's a completely different type of content creation. Do not do that when you first start. And I see people making that mistake all the time. People who try to copy Casey Neistat, for example. Terrible idea. And that's another thing that people do is they choose high quality Muse videos, right? Do not choose high quality videos with the icon method. If you see a video that's an outlier and you click on it and it's insanely good, right? Like it's a really good challenge video that you can tell the person put a massive amount of effort into, or it's an essay style video that you can tell the person spent hundreds of hours of editing, do not copy that video idea because it's difficult to improve upon already excellent content. And another thing that people do is they chase fading trends. So they'll use an icon video that's way too old and the trend is already faded. And so therefore the video doesn't do well. So don't do that either. Now, another thing I want to mention here is kind of just a mindset to have, which is to be like a comedian, okay? Now, why do I say be like a comedian? Am I telling you to be a dancing clown? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What comedians do is they say what everyone is thinking, but nobody has actually said out loud yet, right? So try to find these universal thoughts. Try to find these things that, maybe problems that everyone has, emotions that everyone has, thoughts that everyone has had, but very few or nobody has actually said out loud. So an example of that is, I talked about whether college was worth it or not. Literally everyone in the US has these thoughts. They know that they're going to spend 50, 100,000, maybe even more money on a college degree, and they're really curious on whether that's worth it or not. And they're probably, a little bit skeptical, like, why is everyone spending so much money on college when in other countries it's free or incredibly affordable, right? So everyone's thinking the same thing, but nobody was saying it out loud except for me. I'm the one who said it out loud. And then also say it better than others, right? Articulate common concerns clearly and add your personality and your unique perspective. So if you're a data person, add data. If you're a very skeptical person, be very skeptical. If you're a motivational person, be motivational. If you're someone who loves comedy and you're really funny, add comedy into your content. And another thing that I want to mention again is let others blaze the trail, right? Do not be the pioneer. Do not be the first person to try out an idea unless you're already really advanced, because these are the people who take all the risks with unproven ideas. Be the second person. After somebody else has hacked their way through the bamboo forest, you can be the second person after they've already found the gold on the other side to just walk through the path that they blazed for you. And there's huge benefits to this because it's a validated path and there's way less risk. Plus, it's way less work for you to figure out what works and what doesn't. And then create a superior version of the proven concept. This is how business works. I'm sorry to say it, guys, but this is just how business works. 99.9% of successful business owners, artists, content creators, etc., model what works and then they change it to make it more like them and their personality, and they change a few things here and there, or they mix together a bunch of different models of different things that worked and they create something brand new. Very few people actually innovate and blaze a new trail. Very few people are market makers. So how can you apply this today? 1, install vidIQ. You can get the free version. Also, the paid version is great too. List 5 main niche keywords. These are core terms that people search in your field. Then search and find 10 potential Muse videos and apply the icon method criteria strictly. And then create a research document. You can either just use Google Docs or you can use Asana like I like to with a Kanban board. And then you screenshot and organize the potential ideas. And then here is your 1-week plan to create 1 month's worth of content. Day 1, you want to research. So find 30 plus potential Muse videos. Day 2, evaluate and select. Choose the 12 best ideas to pursue. Day 3, create titles and thumbnails and design improved versions of your selected ideas. And then day 4 to 7, produce your first videos. Script, film, edit, and publish your first improved version, and then batch record and edit the videos. Now I'm going to show you a segment of me actually doing the icon method for one of my clients. So this is me actually finding video ideas for this client using the icon method. And I'm going to be putting them in a Google Doc just to make it simple and showing you the exact video ideas that this client used. And make sure you stick around to the end because I have some incredible news at the end of this video, but check that out right now.
All right, so I'm going to be doing the icon method for one of my clients. This is going to be in the options trading niche. So only tools I'm going to be using are keywords everywhere, and then also vidIQ. So vidIQ, I'm going to be using this tool. I'm also going to be using keywords everywhere. So you can kind of see how that works. The keywords just kind of pop up when you type things in. So, and also they're at the very top when you type things in as well. So you can kind of see them right there. So first thing I'm going to do, we know what the main keyword is. That's pretty much the only information I have. So we're going to go to vidIQ. We're going to go to keywords, and then we're just going to type in options trading. Okay, so options trading. We're going to go to related keywords. This is my favorite way to do it. I'm actually going to first just search by sort by search volume. And then we are going to go ahead and look and see what is here. So trading, live trading, that could be, if you're watching this or anybody who is in the trading niche, this could be a good one to put into your lives. I'm sure you probably already know that though. Putting the keyword live trading in there would be good because it looks like there's a ton of people searching it, but that's not exactly what this video is about. Trading for beginners, Forex trading, swing trading, crypto trading, options trading. Okay, so options trading does get a lot of searches here. So options trading, share market, how to invest, investing for beginners, trading strategy, options trading for beginners. Ooh, that looks like a great keyword. 174,000 searches. So I'm going to type that in. So options trading, options trading for beginners. These both look quite good. By the way, normally I would have this on a separate screen, but I'm trying to keep it all on the same screen so that you guys can see every bit of it. But it's a lot easier if you have it on a separate screen because you're not having to switch tabs all the time. Day trading for beginners. I'm a little bit ignorant about options trading. I think options trading does fall under the day trading category. So that could potentially be another one. Day trading for beginners. I'm going to put that in there, but I'm not 100% sure that falls under the same category. I think it does though. Same thing with swing trading. I think they fall into the same category, but I could be wrong. I think options trading is a type of day trading, if that makes sense. Okay, stock trading, fundamental analysis. That could be a good one as well. Fundamental analysis. Fundamental analysis. Options trading for beginners. Trading options. Yeah, so it looks like we have some really good ones. The next way I'm going to sort it is by related score. So this is going to sort it by which keywords are most related to options trading. And by the way, I've explained this in other videos, but this basically tells you which keywords are semantically related to this keyword that you're trying to rank for, which is incredibly useful because it basically means if people are searching for options trading, they're also very likely going to be interested in these other things. So, okay, options trading for beginners, that's a great keyword. Definitely going to look into that. Options trading basics, options trading 101, stock market. Okay, stock market, that could be a really good one for us to search. Stock market. I'm going to write that down. How to trade options. That could be really good. How to trade options. Options trading strategies. Okay, that could be really good too. Options trading strategies. All right, so I could go on and on here, and we could pick a bunch of different ones. Just for the sake of keeping this video kind of short, I'm going to go ahead and maybe just pick one more. Stock market for beginners. Let's see, stock market for beginners. Okay, so I think we have enough good keywords here. And let's type in options trading and see what pops up. Okay, already did that. Let me see what pops up. Okay, options trading for beginners, complete guide with examples. So he has 2 million subscribers, so that's not as super impressive, but it's a good sign. Remember, with the icon method, we're looking for smaller channels typically. That's what we prefer. We prefer to see smaller channels that get a lot of views. Sometimes I like to just browse through without doing any changes in terms of the filters. I like to just browse through and see what's going on without doing any changes first. And then I can mess with the filters later on. Okay. This one is not a small channel. It's 477,000 subscribers, but that is a huge ratio right there. And it's only a 7-minute video and the thumbnail doesn't look great. So right away, I'm finding ones that look pretty good. Now, remember with the icon method, these are guidelines. They're not hard rules. So yes, we would prefer if this is a smaller subscriber channel, but it ticks a lot of the other boxes. And if you're not sure what those boxes are, then go and review the icon method, right? So we're going to type this one here. I'm also going to, okay. What is going on here? Copy link address. There we go. Put the link address there. And then I'm also going to, I might put the channel there as well, just in case we want to look at the channel later on. Especially if it's really juicy, then I like to take a look at the channel later on as well. Okay, how to grow a small account? No. Too many subs. Okay, trading became so easy after I did these 4 things. It's about a 4-to-1 ratio or so. This one does look interesting. So let's check that one out. Not as convinced that this one is going to be good, but it's worth a check for sure. Okay. 250K subs. Doesn't look good. How I would learn day trading if I could start over. Okay, so this is about a 3-to-1 ratio. That's pretty good. So type that there. Copy link address. Okay. Okay, this is another one from that same channel. Options Trading Explained, Complete Beginner's Guide. And it's usually with these types of videos, it's actually best if they're longer. So the fact that these videos are short tells me I think there's a lot of room for improvement there. Okay. 72K subs, 214K, 31K. Okay, so we're getting down to the part where it just shows random videos that the algorithm thinks I might like. Okay, so now I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to filter. This is one way you can do it. Depends on the keywords and everything that you're looking at, but I'm going to filter by view count. So this looks really good here. So options trading for beginners, 444K subs, but 16 million views. So that looks really, really good. And that could be, even though there's a lot of subs there, still 16 million views definitely gets my attention. This one right here, you would want to ignore this because obviously in the Indian markets, there's almost a billion people in India. So these videos can have incredibly high views. And it's not going to be anything related to your target demographic, most likely. So you wouldn't want to do that. Same with this one. Looks like it's Indian market. How to trade options on Robinhood for beginners. Comprehensive guide by In the Money. Okay, it's about a 10-to-1 ratio. Could be pretty good. You can pick maybe particular platforms for, trading options. So that could be a really good one to explore. I'm guessing you probably don't use Robinhood, but you could say this is how you do it, and here's why it's actually much better to use this other platform. Something like that. Because it doesn't do XYZ and this other platform does do XYZ. Okay. So I think we already took a screenshot of that one. This one looks like it might be in the Indian market as well. Yep, you just hover over it and you see very quickly it's in the Indian market, so it wouldn't be good. Same with this one. Okay, top 5 YouTuber live trading losses with reactions. Yeah, this could be really good here. Okay, that's a massive ratio right there. 38K subs to 4.1 million views. That could be, you could maybe react to the top 5 YouTuber live trading losses. Just kind of react to the mistakes that they made and what you can learn from their mistakes. Options trading made easy with easy options. ICICI direct trading advice is like a foreign language. Okay, this might be in the Indian market. I'm going to click on it just to see. Oh, another thing is, yeah, it looks like this is an ad. This is a great learning here. Okay. Not only is it in the Indian market, but it's also an ad. You can tell because there's 0 comments and there's 4 million views and there's only 4.1K likes, which is less than 1%. That's like 0.1% likes. So that means it's almost certainly an ad, or potentially they're getting fake views on the video, but it's probably just an ad. Okay, so options trading strategies, looks like that's in the Indian market as well. This one I think we already screenshotted. Let's see, Indian market, Indian market, Indian market. Okay. Indian market, Indian market, Indian market, Indian. Okay, Trade IQ, ChatGPT trading strategy. Interesting. Okay, so I'm guessing you're going to see this and you're going to be like, this is garbage. I don't want to make a video like this, but you could make fun of the video, right? You could be like, okay, I tried out this ChatGPT trading strategy and here's why it sucks, something like that. So just because you see it and you're probably not very attracted to it, you think it's BS, that doesn't mean you can't make a video on it, because if you think about it, you're saving all these people from trying a really bad strategy. So that could be a really good one, actually. Most violent Wall Street bets losses. Yeah, this could potentially be good as well here. This is about a 5-to-1 ratio. There is a lot of large channels that are in this market, but I mean, it's a really good niche to be in, so I'm not surprised that there's competition here. Okay, looks like another Indian channel here. Indian channel, most likely, yeah. Yeah, Indian. Okay, we already took a screenshot of that one. Indian market, Indian market. Okay. Indian market, Indian market, Indian market. Yeah, we got a ton of these. Okay, this is another one. You could be like, hey, this is how you use Webull. This is why I don't recommend it. This is why I recommend, I don't know, Thinkorswim or whatever you recommend using, because it doesn't have this option, this option, and this option. Learn, Bank, Nifty, yep, Indian market. Okay, unemployed guy explains option trading in 5 levels of complexity. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, it's about a 3-to-1 ratio. Could be an interesting video to make. right. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, this one looks really good. Okay, cool. So hopefully this was helpful. Obviously, some of these keywords you might not have any interest in. So you'd want to use keywords that you do have interest in. But this is basically how it's done. I think I got about at least 20 video ideas here for you. So, that's like a lot of content you could possibly do there. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully anyone else watching, this was helpful for them as well. And that's how it's done. I'd say this is kind of like a mediocre niche. It's very competitive, but at the same time, there's a huge amount of people that are searching for these keywords. So I'd say it's like a mediocre. It's not like the best niche ever. It's also not a bad niche. In terms of competition, it's a little high, but in terms of earning ability, it's also extremely high. So yeah, this would be a good example of like a mediocre niche.
All right. So if you want help growing and making money on your YouTube channel, if you're a busy business owner or if you're a YouTuber that wants to go pro and take YouTube to the next level, that is exactly what we do. We've helped over 20 people get to 7 figures a year and nearly 10 people get to 8 figures a year on YouTube, and countless others get to a full-time income. So if that's something that you want to do, go ahead and book a call with us down in the description and the pinned comment below. We work with a select few amount of people at a time. And so if you apply for this call and we end up getting on a call together, we will identify your current situation, the current problems you're having, figure out what your goal is, make a plan to get you from here to there, and then see if we're a good fit to work together or not. So this will be the most valuable call that you have this year, whether or not we end up working together. So definitely apply to that by clicking the link down in the description and the pinned comment below. And also watch the video interview that I did with Davis, who I talked about during this video, who we helped get to 7 figures and completely automate and take himself out of a 7-figure business by clicking right here.